Section 9 of The Elements of Style by William Strunk Jr. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Nicholas James Bridgewater. The Elements of Style by William Strunk Jr. Section 9. Words and expressions commonly misused. Nature to wood. Nature, often simply redundant, used like character. Acts of a hostile nature, hostile acts. Often vaguely used in such expressions as a lover of nature, poems about nature. Unless more specific statements follow, the reader cannot tell whether the poems have to do with natural scenery, rural life, the sunset, the untracked wilderness, or the habits of squirrels. Nearby, adverbial phrase, not yet fully accepted as good English, though the analogy of close by and hard by seems to justify it. Near or near at hand is as good, if not better. Not to be used as an adjective, use neighboring. Oftentimes, ofttimes. Archaic forms no longer in good use. The modern word is often. 101. Retain the and in this and similar expressions, in accordance with the unvarying usage of English prose from Old English times. One of the most. Avoid beginning essays or paragraphs with this formula, as one of the most interesting developments of modern science is, etc. Switzerland is one of the most interesting countries of Europe. There is nothing wrong in this, it is simply threadbare and forcible feeble. People. The people is a political term, not to be confused with the public. From the people comes political support or opposition. From the public comes artistic appreciation or commercial patronage. The word people is not to be used with words of number in place of persons. If of 6 people 5 went away, how many people would be left? Phase means a stage of transition or development. The phase of the moon, the last phase, not to be used for aspect or topic. Another phase of the subject. Another point. Another question. Possess, not to be used as a mere substitute for have or own. He possessed great courage. He had great courage, was very brave. He was the fortunate possessor of. He owned. Respective, respectively. These words may usually be omitted with advantage. Works of fiction are listed under the names of their respective authors. Works of fiction are listed under the names of their authors. The 1 mile and 2 mile runs were won by Jones and Cummings respectively. The 1 mile and 2 mile runs were won by Jones and by Cummings. In some kinds of formal writing, as in geometrical proofs, it may be necessary to use respectively, but it should not appear in writing on ordinary subjects. So. Avoid in writing the use of so as an intensifier. So good, so warm, so delightful. On the use of so to introduce clauses, see Rule 4. Sort of, see under kind of. State, not to be used as a mere substitute for say, remark. Restrict it to the sense of express fully or clearly, as he refused to state his objections. Student body, a needless and awkward expression meaning no more than the simple word students. A member of the student body, a student. Popular with the student body, liked by the students. The student body passed resolutions. The students passed resolutions. System, frequently used without need. Dayton has adopted the commission system of government. Dayton has adopted government by commission. The dormitory system. Dormitories. Thanking you in advance. This sounds as if the writer meant, it will not be worth my while to write to you again. Simply write thanking you, and if the favor which you have requested is granted, write a letter of acknowledgment. They. A common inaccuracy is the use of the plural pronoun when the antecedent is a distributive expression such as each, each one, everybody, everyone, many a man, which, though implying more than one person, requires the pronoun to be in the singular. Similar to this, but with even less justification, is the use of the plural pronoun with the antecedent anybody, anyone, somebody, someone, the intention being either to avoid the awkward he or she, or to avoid committing oneself to either. Some bashful speakers even say, "A friend of mine told me that they," etc. Use he with all the above words, unless the antecedent is or must be feminine. Very. Use this word sparingly. Where emphasis is necessary, use words strong in themselves. Viewpoint. Write point of view, but do not misuse this, as many do, for view or opinion. While. Avoid the indiscriminate use of this word for, and, but, and although. Many writers use it frequently as a substitute for and or but, either from a mere desire to vary the connective or from uncertainty which of the two connectives is the more appropriate. In this use it is best replaced by a semicolon. This is entirely correct, as shown by the paraphrase. The office and sales rooms are on the ground floor, while the rest of the building is devoted to manufacturing. The office and sales rooms are on the ground floor, the rest of the building is devoted to manufacturing. Its use as a virtual equivalent of although is allowable in sentences where this leads to no ambiguity or absurdity. While I admire his energy, I wish it were employed in a better cause. I admire his energy, at the same time I wish it were employed in a better cause. Compare. While the temperature reaches 90 or 95 degrees in the daytime, the nights are often chilly. Although the temperature reaches 90 or 95 degrees in the daytime, the nights are often chilly. The paraphrase, the temperature reaches 90 or 95 degrees in the daytime, at the same time the nights are often chilly, shows why the use of while is incorrect. In general, the writer will do well to use while only with strict literalness, in the sense of during the time that. Whom, often incorrectly used for who, before he said, or similar expressions, when it is really the subject of a following verb. His brother, who he said would send him the cheese. His brother, whom he said would send him the money. The man whom, that, he thought was his friend, whom he thought his friend. The man who he thought was his friend. Worth while. Overworked as a term of vague approval, and, with not, of disapproval. Strictly applicable only to actions. Is it worth while to telegraph? His books are not worth while. His books are not worth reading, not worth one's while to read. Do not repay reading. The use of worth while before a noun, a worthwhile story, is indefensible. Would. A conditional statement in the first person requires should, not would. I should not have succeeded without his help. The equivalent of shall in indirect quotation after a verb in the past tense is should, not would. He predicted that before long we should have a great surprise. To express habitual or repeated action, the past tense without would is usually sufficient, and from its brevity more emphatic. Once a year he would visit the old mansion. Once a year he visited the old mansion. End of section 9.